Okay, folks, Captain Paul here aboard Southern Estate, where I currently live full-time with my brother Pete and me, and we've traveled America's Great Loop and the Bahamas for you guys that don't know on your first time. Also, before I get started here on this week's video, which is about my crystal ball of where the market is and where the boats prices are going to go. We did this about 2 months ago, but it's time to touch it again. Also, anybody wants a specific video, just ask me and leave a comment down below and I'll find it. Before I get started today, I do want to reach out and say thank you to Rich and Melanie. I had a wonderful trip. I hope this gives hope to some of the people out there. Me and Rich joked around a little bit when I got to the boat and after we got done with the delivery. He said, we were joking a little bit and saying, in the old days, boat standing for BOAT, bust out another 1,000. And then we were joking, saying, I wish that was true today because now it's bust out another 10,000, and that's where we're at in this market. It's unfortunate because it does drive a lot of the people out of the market because it's not because of the price of the boat. Is what happens after you purchase the boat, the price of fuel, the price of getting the mechanic to work on the boat, the price of everything, the slip rent. I've talked about this before. The slip rent just for right here where I'm staying is $1,750 a month. That same slip rent 1 year ago was $700 for the off season. So you can see where the prices have just jumped up. It's almost made it, and that's not true everywhere. There's still, you can still get slip rents for, in that $600-700 range over here, but not down here in Marathon. That would be almost impossible. What you'd have to do is go over to the mooring fields, and over there you don't have power or anything like that. Also, I'd like to thank my Patreons, explain that a little bit. I do my Patreons, and I'm shooting for 50 right now. Shooting for 100 by the end of the year. We're getting close to that number. Anybody wants to hit that, I do appreciate. Also hit that subscribe button, and share the video with your friends if you're in this little niche that I'm in. Anyway, for the Patreons, for you guys, why do I do the $5 Patreon thing? I think it just helps the channel. It keeps it growing. A long time ago, I set this up many years ago when I started this YouTube channel. I got my first $50 check, and that went to charity, a charity that I picked on my own, and I've given to that same charity ever since, and it's been years now, probably 4 or 5 years. Now that the channel does that YouTube check, that same YouTube check is $500, and believe it or not, all the money still does go to charity, but it's charities that I picked. Some of them I've been with for 5 years from now, some of them I picked up a couple years ago, and I increase those amounts as the money increases. So, and it just helps me with that, and I do appreciate it, and you guys have no idea, and I can't say thank you enough. And that's not why I need the Patreons. The Patreons also help with the fact that, some of the charity work that I do for other people, and looking at their boats and helping them and trying to do what I can do. And it helps because not everybody's in the same financial shape as everybody else. A lot of people pay me, and it's kind of weird because I'm in a market, with some of the older guys, and they still send me paper checks to the house here, or to the boat here. So that's kind of funny to me because they don't. I do get a lot on Venmo and Cash App and all of them, but once in a while I probably got just even this last month I probably got 3 checks in the mail. So I think that's very cool. Anyway, and thank you guys so much. I do appreciate it. A special thanks out there right now. These are guys that I'm working with right now. Is Andy, Larry, Ben, Gary. Thank all of you guys. And I'm missing some names here. Tim, we're going to go look at a boat for him here this next week. A big old catamaran, $600,000 catamaran, and see if we can get that thing down in price and in this market. See what's going on. So one of the studies that I've been watching, at the end of this video, I'm going to talk about our delivery right here, just so you guys have some idea what it costs to deliver. This was a 40-foot carver, go fast, so we were doing 20 knots. We did a little less than 300 miles. So we'll talk about the fuel, the marinas, my expense, and what we did. Also, I want to say a special thanks to John Easley. He's the one that referred me to this for this particular job that I got to do this 3 days ago, or this last week. And thank you, John. I do appreciate it, because he had the original. The broker called him and said, "Hey, can you do this?" He said no, and then Rich says, "Hey, how about if I just call Paul on YouTube?" And he did, and then so I ended up getting the job, and I'm glad I did, because it was nice being on a boat that actually ran instead of one that needs work and stuff like that. And we'll talk about that towards the end of the video. Anyway, thank you guys. Thank you, John. All right, so my crystal ball, where's the market? Where's it going? What's going on and stuff like that? So the market really right now, I read a report, saying that, we passed that $1 trillion mark in credit card consumer debt, and the rate of failure on cars and credit cards is going up. I don't really think it affects our market so much, because a lot of us are retired, getting close to retirement. We've kind of made our money, not all of it, but we're older, smarter, and not a lot of us carry that kind of credit card debt or anything like that. I live a lifestyle of debit free. I don't owe any money on the boat. I don't have any credit card debt, and so I'm able to live I can afford the $2,000 a month rent. Some of these guys, when you start racking up the credit cards and stuff like that, because Oliver North in his song "Rich Men North of Richville," well, what he's talking about there is, that they've created a situation where the prices of the boats have come down, but the commodity prices are still going up, and it's at a rate that I don't know how it ends. I can kind of see from history and where I think we're at in the '08 crisis, we're seeing numbers that are exceeding that right now. And one of those is default on the credit cards, default on car payments. We're not seeing it so much in the housing market, because it's a different kind of situation that we're in. The situation we're in now is the amount of money that everybody gets charged for rent, let's say. It's just gone up so hard, so fast and so hard, nobody can afford it anymore. Not even the companies. There's a company right here in the Keys. It's a bread company. It was over in Key West. It was a big news announcement. They announced they've been in business for 32 years. But the landlord, they just drove them out. They said, we can't afford to pay the rent anymore. And I get that. I understand it. Being a small business owner for years and years and years, I understand that. And it's usually the greed of the landlords. And I think that's the economy we're in. So what's going to happen here is, what we need to see is these landlords to start suffering, and not just the working class. Because right now, that's all we're seeing is the working class struggling, and they're not out buying boats. They can't. They couldn't before, and they can't now, especially. If you're a $25 an hour employee like me, you're not buying boats. You're barely, you better pray, at $25 an hour, you better pray you don't have any credit card debt, no car payments, and all you're doing is paying a little bit of rent money somewhere, because that's about all you can afford on that anymore. It's just, that's where we've gotten, and it's just where we're at in the world right now. It's unfortunate, but it's there. That $25 an hour job, I in the old days, even, let's say even 5 years ago, $25 an hour captain's job here in the Keys, you could afford to have a family, you could afford to pay rent, or buy a house, and then and your wife could drive a nice car, and you could go to work every day. But that's not true anymore. That's not even. That number is gone. Just a junky house down here that should be condemned, should take a bulldozer and condemn it. That's probably about $300,000-$400,000 to get in anywhere nice house. You're looking at $600,000, and then the rent on these houses are, the cheapest rent I'm seeing right now is about $2,900 a month. So right at that $3,000 mark. So if you're making $25 an hour, and I'm just going to use me as an example. I make $25 an hour. It takes 2.5 weeks just to pay the rent for the slip for this boat. So if I didn't have the revenue from the consulting, if I didn't have the revenue from delivering boats like I did last week, if I didn't have the revenue from every once in a while we'll get a commission off of a boat through a brokerage. And so basically it's the YouTube channel. If I didn't have that extra income from the YouTube channel, couldn't survive out here in the Keys. It'd be impossible. Not on a $25 an hour job. No, I'd have to double that and be $50 an hour. So I think that's where we're at in this economy. And so because of that, do I see the boat prices falling? Yeah, I do, and they already have. We talked about this about 2 months ago, and we're seeing that about 10 to 20% right across the top of the board. We're getting to the prices of the boats are getting closer to that buck value. Some of them are coming under, and some of them are coming over. I'm going to use the boat that I was on last week, this 40-foot Carver that Rich and Melanie bought. I think the asking price on it was $220. The final settle price was right at that 170 range, and there was a bunch of factors in that, and that was because after the survey, a couple of items were found of concern. One was the coolers needed to be taken off and cleaned out, and that's, believe it or not, for those two engines, which were Volvo 370s, named Maverick and Goose. Maverick and Goose did an awesome job, and we're going to talk about it a little more here at the end of the video. But anyway, they need the intercoolers taken off, and for Volvo to come out, that's about a $15,000 job. So they discounted that off of the boat, and as they were negotiating with the boat, and that's, that sounds about right to me. So that's where we're at in the market, and I believe it'll continue to do that. The problem with this market is everybody thinks that I'm just going to wait, and I'm going to wait. Like Tim's, he's 68 years old, I'll wait another 2 years. You don't have 2 years to wait it out. I think the bottom of the market is still about 18 months away. We'll see right up to that next election. We're going to see the credit card, that default rate keep going up. But again, those are for the smaller, those are the pontoon boats, that guy making, $80,000, $70,000, $80,000, $90,000 a year, getting all that stimulus money. He buys a pontoon boat, he thinks he can afford it, and then he defaults on his credit cards, and he's going to default on that payment, on that boat payment, that pontoon boat payment, and then those are going to go into repossession. But it's not going to be these trawlers. There's most of these guys, they're older, they're retired, they can afford them. Another problem that we're going to have is, like, I'm going to just use the main ship, the 3900. I think the days of the 3900 selling for $220,000, which I did see that during that COVID run, and I would just shake my head saying, oh my God, why? But that's what was paid in those times. Now, I think those are going to come back down to the buck value, and you're going to see those boats, right at where they should be, that 130 to 150 range. And then the 400, that shoots up a little bit. I just had Jerry just bought one within the last 30 days, 40 days, and the guy was asking 230. I think they settled on 220, but that's a 600-hour freshwater, just an immaculate boat with brand new electronics on it. Guy had $30,000 worth of receipts. He had the intercoolers were taken off, redone, at the 600 hours. So it's pretty much maintenance-free boat, except Jerry did put air conditioners on that boat right after he purchased it, and paying $220,000. And the buck value on that was only $180,000. So I'm using that as a real life example. There's also in this market, I'm seeing like the Bayliner, the 3888 that I did the video on. It finally sold. I think Gary's picking that up actually this week. And Ben's taking it to him. So Ben, somehow Gary got Ben to deliver the boat to Panama City, and then he's going to pay Gary. So the buyers are, if you want to sell your boat in this environment, they're having to do a little bit more and sell them for just a little bit less money, and they're selling them. But that's what it's taking now. There's always this little special stipulation. And the guy, I think next week's video, we're going to talk about the mindset of where these boats are at, what's going on with them, and how they get in such decrepit shape, and then why, even the brokers, some of them get misled, and they even get duped on, the condition of the boat. But after you've seen a survey or two on it, you get a pretty well general idea of the condition of the boat. And most of them, I'm going to tell you right now, after being with Melanie and Rich for 3 days on that trip that we just took, just a beautiful boat on a beautiful trip. They went through probably spent 2 years, several thousands of dollars looking at boats, and it was a process. Melanie just would tell me over and over again, I was done, I was over it. Like this just isn't going to happen. Boats were overpriced. then they get into them. You know, some of them were in great shape, but just so overpriced they just couldn't do it. And it seems like that mark is right at that 200,000 mark. When you start getting past that $200,000, the door's open for if you can afford a $200,000 boat, you can afford a $300,000 boat, if that makes sense. So those guys in that price range right there, and then these guys and in this price range, they want to buy a boat for 150, so they go up to that $200,000 range, and then that's where they have to collapse a little bit. Everybody has to kind of meet in the middle. And that's how you pick one of those up at $170,000. But they were finding so much stuff that was just like the engine room. They get in there, boat was beautiful. Just they loved everything. They get into the engine room, couldn't pass the survey. Just too many discrepancies in the engine room. My personal thing is run to the engine room, just look in the engine room, and that'll tell you the whole story. If you see rusted out motor mounts and all this other, just walk away from the boat. I mean, in some of my past videos, you say, if you walk in there and you smell the odor of diesel, you just say thank you, have a nice day. And so many, because I hate it when the broker says, oh, that's just old boat smell. That's not true. This boat I live on is 40 years old, and there's no odors. There's no sewage odors. There's no odors of diesel in the bilge. There's none of those odors in this boat right here. And anybody can walk on there and verify that. And by the way, if you're ever down here in the Keys, you make sure that you come by and see me. So anyway, so again, like I said, we're about 18 months away from seeing the complete bottom of the market. But again, I don't think we see the bottom that you may think that we're going to see. So if you see a boat and it's at a fair price, you need to buy it. I mean, because A, you can't put a price on time, and B, you can't buy into everything that's going on around us. There's a lot going on right now. This revolution with the AI, here I am, I'm a single guy trying to date, but I get to save all kinds of money because it's all so scammy and so, I believe 90% of it's all AI controlled now. And I just, it's horrible, absolutely horrible and horrific. And it's the same thing in the boating market. It's the same way. It's just like, I don't know where it ends or how it ends or exactly what's going to happen here, but we're going to see some serious changes coming up. And in the meantime, the best advice that I can give anybody is you need to go physically. Even Rich and Melanie told me the same thing. Go out and look at the boat. You can't just be an armchair cowboy, and making offers across the United States on a boat. And if you don't have the money to travel to go look at the boat, then don't be looking at the boats. I mean, it's that simple. It really is that simple. I mean, go look at the boats. Don't make an offer on a boat without going to physically look at it, walk aboard it, look at the engine room, or pay somebody. You can pay somebody to do that too, but still they're not going to have the same opinion as you of the boat. So you got to be careful with that. And like Harold, God bless you, Harold. And I forgot to mention you as one of my Patreons, or contributor to the channel. He's huge. But anyway, Harold, he spent well over in excess of $10,000 searching on a boat. He finally did buy one. He actually had to go to Canada to pick it up, and he bought one on a trailer and then trailered it back here to Florida. And he just did that last week because there's a lot more concerns like insurance and stuff like that. Anybody needs help with insurance, you can just call me, and I can recommend how to get insurance on your 40-year-old trawler. It's not a big myth. It's not a big mystery. There are still a few insurance companies that'll do it. Not allowed to say it on air, but if you call me and talk to me privately, I'll help you with that. Also, anybody needs any consulting, please feel free to reach out to me. First time is free. After that, it's $50 an hour for my time on the phone. And then if you want me to come to you to deliver the boat or help you with the boat, we'll talk about that. Anyway, so let's get back into the delivery right here because it was just so awesome being on a boat. It was very, very refreshing. I was leaving and I'm going on this trip, and me and Pete were joking about it a little bit, saying, hey, he goes, how did it go? So Rich calls me up and says, hey, Paul, this is about 4 weeks ago. He calls me up and says, hey, Paul, I follow you on YouTube, and I'm wondering, can you help me deliver this boat? He goes, I want to take it to the home, and I just want somebody there that knows how to drive the boat for my first time. And I said, sure, no problem at all. And then we made arrangements, just picking them up at blah, 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 and which was Cocoa Beach, basically. It was a military base over there. and then we're taking it up to the St. John River. Made the passage several times myself. I just have never been into the St. John River, which was kind of cool going through Jacksonville and all that stuff. Really enjoyed it. So we get on the boat, and before I leave, Pete's telling me, he goes, just for the record, for you guys that don't know, Pete is my twin brother that lives with me. And we're saying, it's very rare that we can get on a boat and have no issues at all. And when I schedule these, I only have 3 days off from Little Palm. So it can get tricky. And I always tell them, that I could need that extra day, that fourth day, especially when we stretch these deliveries right to the end. But it all worked out. I got on the boat, met the owners, the previous owners of the boat. Wonderful people, and they were practically in tears as the boat was leaving. And you could just tell, you could go down in the engine room there, and Goose and Maverick were just in perfect shape. No rust, no deficiencies. They're telling me, he's just going over everything, like blah, blah, blah. We did this, I fixed this, I did that. But every single thing on that, every thruster, every air conditioner, every single switch we turned on worked the entire trip. So all the running lights, you'd be surprised how many times you go turn on running lights on a boat and they don't even work. And it happens all the time. But this one, everything worked on this boat, and it was so nice getting on the boat and taking off. And so for you guys, I told you I would tell you at the end of this video what it cost us. So the fuel bill on that was about right under $1,500. Now we were running at 20 miles an hour. We did about 300 miles, a little less than 300 miles. Fuel was right under. It was probably about $1,400 for fuel. We spent another $300 for slip fees. So that was 14, 15, 16. So now we're at $1,700. Then they paid me $1,700. So now you're at $3,400. And then food and eating out and groceries, we'll just round it off at about $4,000. And that was only to move the boat 300 miles. So again, when I think in a couple of videos ago, I said, what's it cost to move one of these boats after a thing? And I said $1,000. $1,000 every 100 miles, and it's pretty close, or $1,000 a mile. And that was 300 miles, so it was 3,000. It was a little more than that actually. So, and it's pretty true. It holds pretty true to that. If you budget that, again, they could have moved it themselves. They could have saved the $1,700 they paid me. I don't recommend that. If you've never driven that big of a boat before and you don't have any experience, you should have a captain the first time, just like I did, and many other boaters that I know do. And because if you have a friend that has a twin engine trawler experience, it doesn't have to be a licensed Coast Guard captain. It could be, you could know people that could do this with you, but it's better to have the help and stuff like that. And also the learning. So when they pay to have that learning, it puts you years ahead, because you're realistically, until you get on and do the loop, you're not going to be driving that boat as much as you think you might be. And so, and every day is a different experience about putting that boat in a slip. So unless you have the discipline to get up and every day and move your boat and then slip it at a different marina, you can't get that kind of experience. The only way to grab it is with a captain that knows what he's doing on that size boat. So I highly recommend it. Like I said, I paid it when I first bought Loop Princess. I was scared to death of that boat. I didn't want anything to do with it. I didn't want anything to do with putting it in a slip. But I learned quickly. I paid my captain. He spent the first couple days with me. After that, to tell you the truth, I never even slipped the boat. But I did learn, and then I just took every day, once a week, every week, me and Bev would take it out, and we'd go over to the fuel dock, and we just learned, and I grew faster and faster and faster, and your timing gets 100% faster. But without his experience and without his help in the very beginning, it would have been a lot more for me to handle that boat. So I highly recommend it. Anyway, you guys got any questions, please feel free to ask. Make sure you guys are leaving your comments down there. Hit the like button. For you guys, the best way to help the channel is watch the videos all the way through. I do appreciate it. Hit the like button and then leave a comment down below. I appreciate it. Anyway, peace out. Thank you guys. Next week's video again is we're going to talk about how these boats get in such bad shape and the mindset of how that happens. And I do appreciate you guys so much. You have no idea the appreciation that I have in being able to have this channel and be with you guys every single week. Anyway, peace out. Have a great week. Thank you. Bye.